Alright fellas, now over the last few weeks there's been a lot happening in the heavyweight division. From Wilder coming back, to call-outs of Anthony Joshua, to Tyson Fury seemingly announcing a third fight with Alexander Usyk, just a lot has happened. And with Usyk versus Dubois now only a couple weeks away, I think it's the perfect time to talk about, well, what's really going on with the heavyweight division. What rumours are rubbish, what has substance, and what to actually expect next. But just before we break it all down, if you don't know, my name's Cloyster, and I make boxing videos to help keep you informed, so make sure to subscribe and I will always keep you in the loop. Now, for the last 18 months or so, we've been pretty spoilt with heavyweight action. The first undisputed fight in a couple decades, exciting matchups, and new emerging faces. Yet the division has been fairly quiet for the last few months. That was all really until the last couple weeks. And the division, it's been quiet for a reason. All the belts are tied up and are up for grabs again in one big undisputed fight, which is set to take place in a couple weeks' time. That fight is Usyk versus Dubois 2. Now, Usyk was stripped of his IBF belt after becoming undisputed because he wanted to rematch Fury. It ended up in the hands of Dubois after he defeated Joshua, and now we're set to see Usyk try reclaim that belt back at Wembley. Now, this is a bit of a weird one. Of course, it's the rematch, it's at Wembley, but the hype I would say is fairly mediocre. For such a big undisputed heavyweight fight, the boxing world just hasn't seemed to be really buzzing about this one. Although I do think it will be interesting. Since the first fight, Dubois has rebuilt himself. He's learnt many lessons and beat one of the biggest names in the sport on one of the biggest stages. I don't really care about the low blow from the first fight. I want to see a couple years after the first fight, will the reinvented Dubois continue his rise? So will Dubois upset the debatable pound for pound #1 boxer in the world? Well, I guess only time will tell. This time round though, it's in Dubois' backyard, and Usyk, he's getting no younger. Yet in my opinion, I think it's hard to see Usyk not get the win again. And I think a lot of the other potential competition in the heavyweight division thinks the same thing. As I'm sure you've probably seen over the last few days, Tyson Fury has been talking about a potential trilogy fight. This comes after Turkey announced that Fury would be coming out of retirement and returning to Riyadh season. Fury said this trilogy fight is set to happen at Wembley and will be in April. Is there any truth to this? Well, maybe. I think as far as Fury goes, it's hard to really believe anything that comes out of his mouth until there's an actual official announcement. But normally, I don't really trust much that he says just on a whim. As per usual, he's probably doing it to show his worth in other negotiations which are going on, to prove he's still one of the biggest names in the sport. And we've seen this before. When he retired originally, what date did he choose to retire? Well, at the same time as the Bivol Beterbiev 2 presser, to show he could steal the light at any point he wants. Now, does anyone actually want to see the Usyk trilogy? Well, to put it simply, probably not. Let me know in the comments if you want to see it. It would be another huge fight. The first two were a huge commercial success, so it only makes sense they want to run it back. And it would be another vaguely competitive fight, but honestly, it would be much of the same. Fury in the second fight couldn't correct much that he did wrong in the first, so I just don't see him making many really valuable corrections that will change the fight going into a potential third. Of course, we would rather see Usyk fight the likes of Joseph Parker, who is long overdue another shot at the belts. But Usyk said he only has a couple fights left, and unfortunately for Parker, he might not make that cut. Usyk has talked about fighting both Joshua and Fury again in the past. And can you blame him? They are the money fights. Although Parker is deserving, entertaining, and a genuinely good bloke, he's probably not going to be a big money fight. So with Usyk's legacy pretty much already cemented as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, him wanting to chase the biggest spectacle fights possible kind of makes sense. Unless the Saudis call for it and put up the money to make it happen, I don't think we will see Parker ever fight Usyk. We will though have a clearer picture post-fight. If Dubois wins, we're probably going to see a trilogy match. If Usyk wins, really anyone is back on the table. Although, other than all these big title fights, there's been a ton of other things happening in the heavyweight division. One being the surprising return of Deontay Wilder. Yes, the return of Wilder. If you missed it, I wouldn't be surprised. It was him versus a cherry pick on BLK Prime, a promotion, to be honest, I didn't think even still existed. Now, he did get the win, he got the job done, but he just didn't look fantastic. It's just more of the same we've seen in his last couple fights. Although I think it's clear, obviously what they're trying to do, they're obviously trying to line up a big fight. They want another run at making some big money fights happen. And what's the clear favourite for him? It's Anthony Joshua. That's the fight they've been trying to make really for the last half a decade, but it's never happened. Even though both have had pretty horrific losses recently, and there'll be no belts, it would still pack out a stadium like Wembley. And what makes this sport go round? It's money. Joshua's return has been much talked about recently. Jarrell Miller most recently claimed he turned down multiple fights with him. And for Joshua, what's a fight which would be a big name, not that hard of a challenge, and hopefully allow him to appear to make a statement? It's Deontay Wilder. Although years ago this was a genuine 50-50 fight, I think those days are pretty much gone. Both aren't what they once were. Although Joshua, he's a lot better off than Wilder. Wilder's slow, his power's gone. If Joshua just boxes and doesn't do anything really stupid, it's hard to see him losing. Well, also, I think a Wilder fight is way easier for Joshua than a Jarrell Miller or even a Caballero. For both, it just makes sense at the moment. It makes them a ton of money, it gives them a ton of attention, it just makes sense. Although at the same time, they have both struggled for years now to come to an agreement to actually fight. So this time, will it happen? I guess once again, only time will tell. But if that fight doesn't happen, I think Wilder will still find himself in a fight against a pretty interesting opponent. Maybe, as mentioned before, a Jarrell Miller, maybe even a Dave Allen, there's been a ton of rumours about that. Wilder's a free agent, and whatever seems like the best deal, he's gonna take. But for all these fighters I've mentioned, Fury, Usyk, Joshua, Wilder, the old sort of guard, they really only have about 18 months left seriously in the game. Every single one of these big names is on the way out, and all of them really only have 1 to 3 fights left. Where that leaves the heavyweight division after will be incredibly interesting. For Dubois, even if he loses against Usyk again, he's still in a great position. Although it seems like he's been in boxing forever, he's only 27, and is currently the most decorated young boxer at heavyweight. Even if he loses against Usyk, it's only a matter of time until Usyk retires, the belts scatter, and whatever happens then, he'll be in a great position for. Another young boxer who is fighting soon, who will find himself in a good position really no matter what, is Moses Atuma. He's got a fight lined up next with Dillian Whyte, and that's another fight which has kind of flown under the radar. Although I'm looking forward to see how the young fella can perform against the veteran. But I do share in the disappointment from the British fans that this fight isn't in the UK. It's a fight which deserves to be a big UK main event in front of the British fans. But instead it's headlining a more low-key Saudi card. Although we can't complain too much, at least these sorts of fights are happening. But aside all the speculation of what might happen years from now, for the moment, all eyes will land on Dubois versus Usyk. Whatever happens in this fight will shape the future of the division, and I guess we'll find out all the answers to many of our questions in only a couple weeks' time. But now I want to hear your thoughts at home. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Dubois versus Usyk? Who's going to win? Do you see a third Fury Usyk fight happening? And who do you think is the future of the heavyweight division? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really does a ton to help the channel. Yet, thanks for watching fellas, and I'll catch you in the next one.